Hey everyone. Today I wanted to talk a little about a interesting subject. What happened to women's bodybuilding? Specifically the Miss Olympia. As many of you may know, or not, the final competition for the Miss Olympia was held in 2014. That was the last time this lady right here on the right, Iris Kyle, had won her 10th title of Miss Olympia. She actually holds the most Miss Olympia titles of any person, man or woman, alive today, or actually in any time. It doesn't even matter if they're alive or not. The highest record before her is 8 times by a number of different men for Mr. Olympia. So, what happened to women's bodybuilding after 2014? Well, it's pretty simple. The IFBB just canceled it. 2015, no more. So 2015, 16, 17, 18, for 4 years now, there has been no Miss Olympia. And it's definitely looking like it's going to stay that way. And I think the main reason why the Miss Olympia ended is simply because of its taboo nature and anti-social and cultural norm. It pretty much goes against the norm and against society and what we accept as a female woman to look like. I believe that's the main reason that the IFBB has ended the Miss Olympia, is because it just simply became too taboo. It didn't really attract a large audience, and they just didn't see it as a worthwhile endeavor to continue to pursue. Now, I want to just take a second to look at the lady on the left. So, this lady here actually won the first Miss Olympia ever. I believe her name is Rachel. I don't remember her last name, but her first name is Rachel here. She won the first Miss Olympia that was held in 1980. And as you can see, the difference between our ultimate and last Miss Olympia compared to back in 1980, it is quite a drastic difference. And obviously, and quite evidently, this difference is primarily due to drug use. That is what really created this taboo nature of women's bodybuilding. It just got to the point where the women didn't really start to look like women anymore. Once, at a certain point, you take so much testosterone and human growth hormone, you really start to lose a lot of female features. Something I found with women bodybuilders is, aside from the overly muscular physique, the facial structure is one of the really big things that also changes. And I actually think that if it wasn't for the facial structure change, this sport maybe might have had a chance. Now, the common kind of theme with a lot of female bodybuilders is that they will have some overly defined and overly hypertrophied sections of not just their muscles but also their skull. So as you can see, a lot of these women have, I only have Iris here, but even a lot of the other female bodybuilders, they have a very defined jawline, they have a very significant chin, they have very large noses, and there's sometimes even, you can have the brow line, the ridge of where the eyebrows sit on the skull even can protrude. It almost kind of looks like a caveman almost look of a face, and that is simply because of the drug use. When you take stuff like human growth hormone, it will grow everything in the body, And that includes your skull, your facial features, and that's why female bodybuilders that are very I've been doing it for a very long time and are using drugs, they don't really look too female anymore. As you can see in back in 1980, while Rachel here did have a pretty good level of musculature that I would again say is, well, I would say that is very obtainable naturally. It's still feminine. It's still feminine. It's still very much a feminine-like physique, you know. So she still has curves. She still has, you know, she still has those feminine features that the culture as a whole accepts and wants to see. So, like, good feminine face. She's obviously using a little bit of tan there, of course, because her face is much brighter than the rest of her body. But that's nothing new, even nowadays. But her feminine structure still hasn't really changed much. And she even, miraculously, still has a good amount of breast tissue, I would say, even for a female bodybuilder, because she's not overly lean. One thing that happens, and not only with female bodybuilding, but also with other divisions like bikini, physique, since they want really low levels of body fat now, the breast itself, the breasts, they actually shrink to about nothing. If all the bikini athletes and all these no, maybe not women's physique, but definitely bikini athletes. If these bikini athletes didn't have implants in their breasts, no bikini athletes would have any breast tissue at all. They would all be flat-chested. They would have absolutely no boobs, and frankly, they probably wouldn't need to wear bras because there's absolutely no breast development because the body has metabolized all the fat and the adipose tissue of the breast itself, and you're pretty much left with nothing but the mammary glands, essentially. So it would just be a little bit of a protruding nipple, but other than that, it probably wouldn't actually look too different than a male nipple, almost. So that's kind of one little interesting thing about bikini is all the bikini girls, especially in the pro level, definitely have fake breast implants. They have breast implants, so not fake breast. I mean, okay. Anyways, you get the point. So yeah, that's essentially what happened with female bodybuilding. It just got to the point where the drug use got too rampant, and the body didn't really start to resemble a female body anymore, simply due to the exaggerated use of drugs. And that is ultimately how female bodybuilding has ended. And it's interesting to note that back in the 80s and 90s, female bodybuilding was actually, from what I've read and done some research on, it was actually pretty popular. Supposedly it was held in Madison Square Garden, and it attracted a very large audience. And, you know, in the last decade or so, that's definitely not been the case, because female bodybuilding just turned into a little sideshow at the Olympia Expo that not really many people attended. So that's unfortunately what happened to it. And now it's become to the point where, you know, culture just didn't accept it. So yeah, that's kind of the summary of what happened to the Miss Olympian female bodybuilding. It kind of officially began in 1980 and it ended in 2014. So just in a mere 34 years, the women's physiques went from the left picture to the right picture. And that is how ultimately it ended. So hope you guys enjoy that little talk about women's bodybuilding. If you guys have any questions or comments, as always, just leave them in the comment section below. See you guys next time.